In this video, I'd like to talk about a molecule that's known as glutathione, which is an antioxidant that we need in order to reduce inflammation and mop up free radicals in our bodies. In this video, I'd like to talk about what's required to make this molecule. Specifically, what do we need and how do we make it? So for this, I thought it's a good opportunity for me to discuss a pathway known as the pentose phosphate pathway. So let's look at this here. There is this pathway in our body that's called the pentose phosphate pathway, which is made of two parts, the oxidative phase and the non-oxidative phase. So this pathway has two components. Now, in the oxidative phase, glucose 6-phosphate, which as you know is a molecule that's in glycolysis and gluconeogenesis, right? So this glucose 6-phosphate is converted into ribulose 5-phosphate through a series of steps. So you go from glucose 6-phosphate to ribulose 5-phosphate. And in this process, you make NADPH. And this is really, really important, which we'll talk about in a moment. Then we have the non-oxidative pathway where we convert ribulose 5-phosphate into ribose 5-phosphate. So you go from ribulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate. And in this process, you make nucleic acids, right? Your DNA and your RNA. Also in this process, you make sugars like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and fructose 6-phosphate. So I'll call these G3P and F6P. So these are the sugars that you make in the non-oxidative phase, and these can actually feed back into glycolysis if needed, right? So hence this is called a shunt, because these sugars that you make in the non-oxidative phase can feed back into glycolysis, right? In fact, this glucose 6-phosphate that we start off with is, a product of glycolysis, right? We convert glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, which is used in the shunt. And then the sugars that you make here, the G3P and the F6P, can go back to glycolysis. Hence, this is a shunt. And making these sugars actually involves transketolase enzymes, which require the coenzyme B1 or thiamine pyrophosphate, TPP, to work. Okay? But anyways, let's go back to NADPH, which is made in the oxidative phase. This NADPH is crucial to make fatty acids in the mitochondria, right? In a process known as fatty acid synthesis. It's also used, and that's what we care about in this video, to make the antioxidant glutathione. Specifically, it's important for the reduction of glutathione into the reduced form GSH. This reduced form is able to scavenge free radicals when it's oxidized back to the oxidized form with the disulfide bond on the cysteine of glutathione. Because glutathione is actually a tripeptide. It has 3 amino acids. One of these amino acids is cysteine, which plays the crucial role. So this GSH, right, is the reduced form of glutathione when the cysteine has this thiol or thioester bond. And the reduced form acts as an antioxidant to scavenge the free radical when it's converted back to the oxidized form with the disulfide bridge between the cysteine residue of neighboring glutathione molecules. So you have this reduced form that's converted into the two glutathione molecules, which has the oxidized version. So what happens is this thioester bond becomes the disulfide bridge between two cysteine residues. So what else is needed for glutathione to work? Well, you need B2 and B3 to make this reduction process take place, and also tryptophan, which can make NAD+ as well. Okay, So again, the key is that NADPH, this key molecule made in the oxidative phase of the pentose phosphate pathway, this NADPH is a cofactor for glutathione reductase, which is the enzyme that's needed to reduce the oxidized glutathione from the GSSG, from the disulfide bridge formed between two glutathione molecules, into the reduced form, into two reduced glutathione molecules with the thioester bond. Actually, let me draw a picture so this is clear. So what this NADPH does, so let me draw a picture to make this pretty clear. So what happens is that the GSSG, the oxidized form, is converted into the reduced form, into 2-GSH. That's what you need the NADPH for. It's this process that you need the NADPH, which is made from the oxidative phase of the pentose phosphate pathway. It's this reduced form here. It's this process, right, that to convert from the oxidized to reduced form, that you need the NADPH for, and the B2 and B3 for. So that's what I wanted to indicate in this video. How do we make this key antioxidant, which is then going to be converted back into the oxidized form of the disulfide bond between neighboring glutathione molecules, and allowing it to act as an antioxidant to scavenge free radicals.